Me and the wife just purchased 20 acres of vacant land in town, and we're really excited to build our dream home on it. I'm going to take you guys through the property now and show you everything that it has in store for us. Let's jump into it.
The property is 20.7 acres of flat forested land that butts up to a pipeline on the left-hand side and backs up onto crown land, which overlooks this beautiful windy river.
So the first thing that you see when you enter the property, it's got these big rock banks on the side. I'm not really sure what they were doing with them because it's kind of that like drain rock in here, but probably going to be removing this, and the plan is to put like a big kind of farm arch here where these posts are, but we'll probably be doing that in the future. Just for now though, it does have a chain just to try to keep people out as best they can, and this old kind of fence they got going on here, which will definitely have to be ripped out. We're really fortunate with the driveway as it is an old logging road, because this property was logged about 20 or so years ago. So all of this is really good rock in here. As you guys can see, it's got a bunch of big rocks and stuff throughout the entire driveway. And so this has a really good base on it, and right now you can actually drive on it if you wanted to. So we're really fortunate we don't have to do too much for the driveway other than obviously clearing all this brush and stuff off of it. The driveway is super skinny coming between this property and the property next to it, and it comes all the way in, and then just past this house on the left hand side it opens up, and it's about 150 or so meters kind of each way once you get past that house. And the idea that I have for this is that it comes in right here, and then it comes to this corner right here, and then I'm hoping to put a carriage house in the bush right in there. Let me see if I can turn this around. Right in here off of this corner, and then we can have like a nice walkway to our main house, which is going to be over there. And the idea is that like our family and stuff, when they start to get a little bit older, or they're just coming to visit and stuff, they can actually just spend time with me and the missus while we live in our house, but also having our own space, which will be really nice to have. And then like a big reason why we kind of want to do it off this corner right here, and then kind of have it in the bush, is we kind of wanted to have it feel really isolated in there. I don't want us to be able to see the neighbor's house, so kind of right off this corner is kind of the closest spot where you're not going to see the neighbor's house, and you still have the trees and stuff between it, because it's really expensive to get BC Hydro to actually put power lines or dig underground for power in here. So you're about $15,000 per pole, and roughly we're going to need about 3 power poles to get in here. And the closer we can be to the front of the road where the power is, the cheaper it's going to be for us. And the idea is that when we're not using the place and having family come to visit or potentially live there, is that we want to use it as an Airbnb for just a little bit extra income for me and the missus while we're trying to get our feet underneath us and stuff, because obviously a building is really expensive, and having that extra income is going to be really important. So this is the location we're thinking of for the house. Originally, we kind of thought in this nice clearing area, but as you guys can see from the aerial photos and videos, there is quite a bit of water in there, and we don't want to have it in the low-lying area because it's just going to be a pain in asking for trouble with the foundation and water creeping into the crawl space or basement. But if we kind of do it up in here, we still have that kind of forest feel. We're not going to see any of our neighbors as well because there is a big shop which you guys can't see, but it's right through the bush right there. So having it over on this side would be nice. Still be kind of that trail like I was talking about between the two houses, which would be nice from like a family perspective. And then we're still close enough to the front of the property, so it's not gonna be crazy expensive to actually get power and stuff into here and services. And then house here. And then on this side, I'm looking to build like a 50 by 30 shop and probably angle it kind of like this, because this is south facing that direction right there. So if we put it kind of at an angle here, then we can have solar on the roof as well, which will be really nice, just to kind of offset some of our costs. And then we're also going to be not bringing in any gas or anything, and mainly power the house for heat with a wood stove, and then like have kind of like a supplemental heat when we're gone and whatnot to be through electric, which is definitely more expensive. But if we had solar on top of the shop, we could definitely offset some of those costs. And you guys can see the dogs absolutely love it in here. They love ripping around. Remy is soaking wet. And so is Bo in that wet area that's over in here. So they love ripping around here, which is definitely a nice thing for us, obviously, when it comes to being able to kind of have the dogs roam around and be happy and be free, so they can chase whatever they want to do and do whatever they want to do, and we're not going to be worried about them having this property. So this is obviously like a log deck of some of the brush and stuff that they had taken out when they were logging. I think a lot of it's probably from this area when they cleared it. It is really wet in there, so I'm not 100% sure if it was wet in there, so that's why you've got the smaller trees, but I think these look like pretty new within the last, I don't know, 20 or so years, which would make sense for the logging. And I think a lot of this was there, and I think that they had originally planned to actually put the house here, but my guess is it was a little bit too wet and they didn't realize that. So hopefully it's not going to be wet because it is a little bit higher over there, but there is like a bit of a natural kind of wet area in here. So obviously we'll have to get rid of a lot of that brush and stuff. Unfortunately, being in city limits, we can't actually just burn it. So we'll have to either chop it up for firewood, which I don't know how great it's going to be for that, because it's kind of old at this point, and then, or we'll have to move it somewhere. But there is lots of room on the property for us to move it to a different place if we decide to do so. So one thing we're really fortunate about this property, and one thing we absolutely love, and one of the big reasons why we did decide to buy it, was because it's completely flat on this property. As you guys can see from the aerial video, it has a steep bank on the backside with a beautiful view of the Quesnel River. And we feel like, obviously, when it comes to owning land, if you can have a nice flat piece of land and then you get a nice view, I mean, double win. Got the current place we have, it's pretty steep, so it's hard to put a garden on. You have to do raised beds on a slope and stuff like that, so it can be challenging. It's more expensive for lumber, it takes more time to build them and all that stuff. So building on this land will be fairly easy, which is something obviously is going to cut down on costs and stuff and make things a little bit quicker, which we're excited about. And as you guys can see, this is that big shop that I was talking about that we don't want to be looking at. So if we keep all of these trees and then have the house back in there, we shouldn't be able to see the shop in the wintertime, and then especially in the summertime when the leaves actually come back on the trees. And here's just to show you guys some of the rock that was actually on this property, and this is what they use for the road base. So I'm not sure if there's like a bunch of this in here or if this was trucked in or whatnot, and then they just didn't have a use for all of it. But definitely we'll be able to put some of that to use when kind of building a nice kind of level area for the house itself. One big challenge with this property, and I think a reason why it took so long to sell, this property was on the market for over 500 days. But I think the big reason why it was on the market for so long is because it's really difficult to get water here. Talking with the locals, like some of the neighbors and stuff, and then also looking at the well map and stuff for the city, it is about 500 to 600 feet deep to get the well in place here. So we're probably in that like $30,000 to $40,000 to get the well actually just drilled. And that doesn't include getting the piping and all the plumbing in actually to the house and getting the well pump as well. So it's gonna be pretty expensive to get water. And then obviously, as far as power, like I mentioned already, it's going to be pretty expensive to get power into the property as well, because you got to go 350 meters, or what's that, like 900 feet, 1,000 feet into the property before you kind of have that privacy that we're looking for, that someone would want to have with the 20 acres. So like a big problem for us is that the cost is going to be really expensive when it comes to putting power and services and such on the property. So this is one of my favorite spots of the property. I think this big Douglas fir does some wonders for us, and it kind of shades out the area, and it's just really nice. And then you've got all these nice aspen trees over here that I'm really looking forward to having like all the leaves actually come out and stuff. I don't know if you guys can see this, but there is someone walking over there. So people do walk their dogs and such over on that pipeline that's right next to us, which isn't so bad. We don't really see them or whatever. Like I'm on the property, I can like barely see the person that's walking over there. Hey boys, hey, come here, come here. That's the nice thing about having dogs that listen. instantly recalled, and they're coming right back, so I don't have to worry about them ripping over there and bugging someone that doesn't want to be bugged. Right, boys? Good boys. So as you guys can see from the aerial video as well, it backs right onto Crown land, which is the power lines on the back end side. There is quite a bit of recreation on the back side, so people do go on their ATVs and their quads and their side-by-sides and dirt bikes and stuff like that. So we do expect to hear a little bit of noise from people ripping around on the power lines. And then obviously, as I mentioned, this pipeline right here. So there is a pipeline. It is technically private property, but I don't believe they can actually build on the pipeline right away. So there's not going to be anyone that actually builds on the entirety of one side of us. And then there's one neighbor on the other side. And then we back onto Crown land at the back. So lucky enough for us, like we are kind of surrounded by areas that aren't going to be built on and not going to be developed in the future. So when I first came and looked at the property, this was kind of one of the features that I actually really liked about it. Mind you, this is like a well that I think was about 60 or so feet deep. I don't know if you guys can see down there. Probably not, but there is a little bit of water at the bottom, but they can't really, like this isn't actually supplying water on a regular basis and might be able to feed into a cistern or something like that. It's about 60 feet deep. But then you've got this cool pond here, and I'm really kind of looking forward to like being able to have ducks or whatever that'll kind of just come into here and do whatever. And then maybe if like we decide to get some ducks as well or something, like this is maybe where we can have them. Also thinking in the future that it might be nice to have this as like a bit of a skating pond or something like that for me and the kids in the future. And you know, any sort of like standing water on the property is kind of a cool little spot. There's also a bunch of this drain rock, and they must have just dumped a bunch of it here. I'm not sure what they used it for, but this isn't natural, obviously, and I'm not even sure if this pond is natural. It definitely kind of looks like someone had dug it up. And then there's also this like weird building here that if we go over and look at it, it's, try not to slip. It's kind of this weird well sort of thing that was clearly, it clearly didn't do anything with it. Like it doesn't go deep. So I don't know if it was filled in or something in the future, but if anyone has an idea like what this is, let me know. There's a ladder here. So I don't know if people were like using this as like a bit of a stand or something and then trying to do duck hunting or something. I'm not really sure, but it was dug deep. So maybe they're trying to get water out of it. I'm not really 100% sure, but this is, yeah, kind of a cool little spot here for sure. One thing I've also noticed on this property is there's a lot of scrapes. So I'm a bit of a hunter myself, and I don't know if this is from deer or from moose, probably both. So looking forward to seeing what actually created these scrapes and actually getting this to see them in person. And one thing I really love about this is it's 20 acres, but it's right in town, as I kind of mentioned at the beginning there. But we are 2 minutes from town. So it's easy to still do sports with kids in the future, you know, get to work really easily. You forget something from the home hardware store, as everyone always does, and it's not a 20-minute trip back into town to get something. It's literally 2 minutes to everything, and it feels like you're in the middle of the bush right now. You really wouldn't have any idea that you're actually in town, which I absolutely love. So another thing this property has, and we probably almost definitely won't be using this, as it's my understanding that lagoons are not allowed within city limits, which is where we are. But there is a fence, as you guys can kind of see right here, that goes all the way around this and blocks it off. But they had built a lagoon and then put some plumbing into it as well, so that they could use this as a septic system. If people don't know, lagoons can pump in your sewer or your sewage, and then from there it actually will just build up in there, and it actually just like basically decomposes, and sometimes you just put like a couple bacteria pucks or whatever in them, and apparently they don't really smell at all, and you don't really notice that they're there. So really cheap, easy way for septic, but unfortunately, I think this was done 15, 20 years ago, and it's not allowed in city limits. So I don't know if that's a new thing or not, but it's also a little too far from the house. Like we're probably 300 or 400 meters from the house right now, which, I mean, we could potentially run this plumbing all the way to the house, but it's a bit of a jaunt, and yeah, again, not really allowed in city limits. So one thing I mentioned already is there's the pipeline right next to us. So I'm on it right now. It is treed in a few different spots, but it's really nice wide open, which is awesome. And then it kind of walks out to this wonderful view that's right next to our property. Property is right on this tree line, all the way back, this tree line all the way across. That's our property. And then when you come over here, you get this magnificent view of kind of the valley over the Quesnel River. And you can kind of see it like that. And it's honestly, it's really nice, especially right now. It's really breathtaking with that sunset. So I feel really fortunate to have a view like this, just minutes from our house, our future house. And the dogs absolutely love it. I mean, they're always checking out the view. They love walking around. Remy, come here. Come here. There he is. So yeah, they love ripping around here, and it's just like a great way to walk the dogs, and then you can, go for a walk right out of the back door of your house and get this beautiful view. And again, there's nobody around, which is the best part about the whole thing. So coming off the pipeline, it comes right back into our property right here. Our property line's about right where I'm standing right now. And it comes into this dense forested area. And I believe that this is probably what the rest of the property looked like before it was logged. But if we come in here, huge difference in timber type in here. You got a lot of Douglas fir, a lot of conifers, a lot of undergrowth coming up. And then it's right on the edge or the bank. So we come over here. You can see the valley kind of off the distance, right on the edge of it. And you can kind of see there's like a bit of a drop off there as well. So there's a nice trail network that kind of comes through the back of the property. A bit of a concern for us. I mean, we don't want people ripping through with ATVs or quads or dirt bikes or anything like that on our property. And, as I can see, there is some dirt bike tracks from this year. So that's something that we are gonna, put a gate up at the corner there. At the end of the day, it is our property. We do want to have gates. Like, we don't want to have people just ripping around on our property. Signs, which there's one there right now, doesn't do anything. People aren't going to stop when they see a sign. They're just going to go right past it. So we're going to put a gate up or two kind of on all the entrances and stuff that have trails like this, so that people aren't going to come up here and, kind of rip up our property. Good boy. Yeah, like this is even fresher than it was. So someone's obviously been down here a couple of times now, rather than just once, which last time I was on here about a week ago, there was only one track. So we'll definitely be putting up a gate sooner rather than later. But we are like super fortunate with this back trail. I mean, it's one of the best spots to walk, and then I really like the timber type back here. As you guys can probably imagine, there's a lot of big fir, a lot of trees that they would want to potentially log right here. But the reason that they weren't logged is there's a slope stability on the back. So we wouldn't want to put a house overlooking the view because the bank's not actually that stable. So that's why we're going to put it a long ways back from the bank. And then we're not going to be in the slope stability hazard area. We're not going to have to worry about this eroding over time and all that kind of stuff. And like, mind you, when you look at trees that are on the bank, like this big fir tree, that thing's probably 80, 100 years old, and it's still hanging in there just fine right on the bank. So I can't imagine this bank is actually started to erode that much based on my knowledge of what slope stability looks like and some indicators and stuff. So I'm not too worried about the bank actually eroding away, but we will not be clearing any trees on the bank, even though it would be an absolutely beautiful view back off the back here, just if we did clear all the trees and stuff. But you'd probably have a really good view for, you know, a couple of years, and then the bank would really start to slide, and then before you know it, you've got a lot more issues on your hand than you started out with. So over the next few years, me and the wife are going to be building our dream home on this beautiful piece of property that we feel so fortunate to be able to purchase. So if you guys are interested in something like this, make sure you guys follow along. We're going to be doing anything and everything from fixing the driveway, doing the foundation, clearing land, framing, interior work, building chicken coops, doing beehives, all of that fun stuff that comes along with doing a hobby farm and building your dream house on a dream piece of property. So if you guys are interested in that, make sure you subscribe and like if you guys enjoyed this video. Until next time, guys, take care.